Hello, this is Gerald Johan van Waas. Every letter that we know has an association with an adaptation towards the point of recognition. The different letters are recognized in different ways, in a very quick position, orientation. They are related with the first category of the first 9 letters, which are associated with fixed points or points that hardly actually change. And these are the most easy adaptations that we also perform towards these letters. So when we hear them, we are also triggered by a certain adaptation process. For the fixed points, the orientation in space, it's very minimal, but we still do that. We still have an adaptation process. A bit more clear is when the sounds and the letters that we associate with things that move and change and so on, and we follow these directions. These are already more clear that we have an adaptation there. It's an adaptation of direction towards the changes that actually happen. Once we are fully engaged in everything which is moving from space and within a time process, we follow actually a more complex pattern actually that we are following up in 2 directions with action and reaction. This is a third kind of adaptation. Certain letters, they belong to that category because also that's the way how we perceive them, as vibrations, as noise. They more have a general influence, and we try to balance that out actually with the situation that we encounter, the combination of letters. The letters are combinations like a puzzle. But this video is again about the adaptation process. And I had already a previous video where I had the engagement of how we adapt actually to points that are steady in space. We focus really upon one point in space, and we want to derive all these things to this point. And we start actually already there a certain learning process, an engagement with where we also have a certain opinion. How do we do that? We just do that. We just have an activity. We have an action with a, and we see that and we engage towards that point of reference. But it's like already there, it's a balancing out things. So although we think, okay, we are engaged, the rolling of this device that you see there, so we engage it, we engage in the movement. Actually, it will be not just our movement, but there will be a counter movement depending on the situation. It will trigger actually the reality reactions as well towards that gravity point. We see that we try to win and gain information, gain also position for how we see things, but actually it's still engaging itself towards that point and see whatever reaction that will be. But that's the first point. Second point was then going towards the middle, so it's actually a bit in balance. And the last one was, okay, coming out of balance logically. Also, these are 3 different points of positions that we engage towards and that we also perceive differently. If it's getting out of balance, we also see it differently. That, okay, it's getting out of balance, so what shall we do? And when we are trying to balance this learning process already better, we're not only learning, we will also de-learn, let's say, or unlearn actually. Like you have the positive, you have the A is positive, I'm going towards my engagement, K is negative, oh no, I'm losing it. When we do both things, A plus K, we have that unlearning with the letter U. So that's the balance. We see actually the things from 2 points. That's what I already explained there. So when I build up all these letters, the engagement of the learning process will also become more and more complex, and more adaptations will occur. So it could become quite complicated if you're a bit slumpy in building it up. But I hope I still have enough clarity to let you know, okay, how you see the next point after A, T, and K is U. Like that. You have the A position, the K position, and I balance it out, and from my new engagement from blue to red, I have the direction, okay, I deal with that not going and that unbalance, and that's where I'm going to. That's the letter U. So that's how this builds up. Just have a small resume of what I have explained before. When I'm truly balancing it out, so then of course you have ULB, but in the next level I will really deal with at the edges. So I'm starting my position downward, then in the position how does it move, and then in position how does it react at the borders, how does it react. And I keep my focus actually very focused here with 3 focuses at once into one point. That one point is still that point down there, that's gravity point. I now engage with C in order to neutralize actually the imbalances. So I'm trying to find a new starting point, the third time when I have a starting point. A is a starting point, U is a starting point, C is a starting point. T, L and M are developing itself further, and K, B and X are the limits actually. So here I am back to this new start where I deal with the 3 balances, seen from 3 sides. Now how will I build that up then further to the next level, the movement itself? Because here there was only one movement. I can do that in many ways. I can do that also from the position of, okay, let's see the movements just from one position, or let's also move towards it, or let's see how everything moves towards it. It's about the time process, so we have one moment and space and another moment and space. So it moves towards the different conditions, and that's what I'm going to do on the next level. I'm going towards the new conditions. So with A, I saw it from one side, the A, which is now becoming on the next level with movement. I move my full picture up in this way horizontally towards my new starting point. So I have a comparison to a starting point, my starting point, and the starting point that I'm going to focus upon. So that's going to see it. I'm going to still see it from one side at the time aspect to it and the horizontal. Anyway, also I move my concept, and that's my adaptation process. I move towards that new concept. I need time for it. I will not go to it, but I have to have that engagement, and I can't see it from one steady point. I have to adapt. That's what the D here will do as the first letter of the movement changes and the timing processes. So most simply said, what will I do when I do a move? I do a move on the horizontal plane forward. It is on the first level, so I also start from space and I go towards a move, a change, basically via a time process. So it's quite easy. So let's build that up. Now the letter N is of course in the vertical sense, which is I move up. And I also move my own thing up, my own idea up. I move it up towards a time process, so I make it available for the engagement where I lift it up to it. So I can't do anything with it now, but at a certain point in time, yes, I will be able to engage a continuation in the time process, and that's what the N is about. The Y, what does that do? So there I move it towards a diagonal, and also there I move myself up. Basically, again, it's towards an engagement which I do not have immediately available, but it is somewhere a bit further away. Very simply said, that's what Y is about. Now the next level will be not just in one dimension in time, it will be in 2 dimensions in time and space. So it will have to move the things in time, so that's forward, but then it will also move the things upward actually, up as well in time. It will move up and forward in time. It will move a frame in time up, or a frame of focus up. which is a time and space together. Let's go to lift it up from space towards a new timed process in space. That's more better said actually. And this is an engagement which will of course also make our space bigger, go towards another space and make it actually also available to a bigger concept of time. I have an enlarged area in which I will make things available and make visible, in which I can have an order. Same thing for E, it will also do that, but it will not just have it enlarged in the same way as it has on the horizontal plane. It will have it enlarged on the vertical plane. It could even enlarge it as give it more length actually, and it's also about frequencies that become higher, forms that become higher or have more lengthy. There's more pressed in between just one moment. I go from one moment to another. We are talking also about higher dimensions, but the physical translation of that, I will not talk about that now because I might still make mistakes when I try to do that right now in this video. So I'm going to leave it out, but it will have stretching abilities, possibilities, which I explained a bit in my book as well. Then the next letter, the Z or the W, will go towards the diagonal, and they move its angle, they change its angle, they will adapt its angle, the Z inwardly and the W outwardly, but they will move, they will adapt its angle. This is very simply said, but now you know already where I'm going to. And the last letters of this changing space, changing a time concept, going towards a new time concept where I will give it a new order, will be in the 1, 2, 3 into a full three-dimensional adaptation process. I try to keep it simple, but I adapt actually towards the horizontal moves somewhere in the three-dimensional space. My horizontal, my positive vibe to go forward is stimulated in different angles and go forward. It can move its angles or also move its size even where it goes. That's here is getting the whole process a bit loose to go forward. I want to go forward and I can go forward from different angles. That's more or less the concept, that you can adapt to it and understand it, how you adapt to it. With the F, it's done with the vertical. It will also adapt with variations, which I will say, okay, which direction is most will bring me most forward, will have the most frequencies, will have the most dominant frequencies. It's also giving a lot of variations in the vertical sense. And the P, at the end, it will give, again, variations in the full three-dimensional space, variations of adaptation, of directions also, of angles actually. I can have a view from it from different angles in different moments, and that's where I'm going to adapt towards it, how it fit best to adapt to the diagonal conclusions. Okay, that might be a bit difficult still for now, but the adaptation processes, they shouldn't be too difficult once you go to the reality of it. The adaptation in P is makes my angle also different. I'm changing my angle, I adapt my angle, how I get results actually in the end. And this will make a new angle somewhere else, completely different else, where I will see, okay, but here it will fit well, here I can take that angle of results out well. So let's go to our example. The example was already trying to find a new angle and see, okay, which is the angle which has a certain ability to find the right angle where I understand what works and what does not work, will be taken out actually for towards the time process, and this time process will again be engaged from space towards that engagement that I can do something with it in time. So here it's abstract, but when I take the pen and I see the pop up, yeah, that's the first adaptation of P, a pop up, and I see, okay, I think I will take the pen, I will move it up towards a process in time. So let's have a process in time that I can use the highlights at a certain point, and N says, okay, and therefore I will move it in space and adapt actually to these changes that are visible in that time process of adaptation. Basically, that's what's going. The three sorts of adaptation is an adaptation of something that pops out or is taken out towards where I can use it, where I will follow up the changing movements and adapt to it also in space towards that time process which is available. That is basically pen. So it might not have been the most perfect video that you already see every aspect of how do I adapt, but you have already some clue that if you follow the adaptation process itself, it also gives you a different angle to the same things. Okay, thanks again for watching. Bye.